Hello and welcome to another BookTube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. And look at this lovely Saturday afternoon light coming through my blinds. That's what this effect is. It's not some sort of trendy filter. Today's video, let's get comfy, it's a video about my favourite things from the past few months. I used to do these videos monthly. That's better. I used to do these videos monthly, whereby at the end of each month I would talk about the favourite things that I had from that month. But I found myself sort of thinking, oh, is this going to be in my favourites as I was doing stuff, and maybe trying to fit things into favourites that weren't necessarily my favourite, but I didn't have other favourite stuff going on that month. It became a bit contrived is what I'm saying. So I've done it, so I don't feel like I did many of these favourite videos last year, which is weird because these are some of my favourite videos that I actually, speaking of favourites, these are some of my favourite videos that I like to watch, but I didn't do many of them last year, and I thought, well, what I'd do is I'd make a list of things that I've really been enjoying as they're happening. So this list I've got here, quite a big list actually, has been things that have been going on for the first quarter of the year. So January, February and March. We're getting to the end of March now. Can you believe it? Yeah. I feel like January was like 70 days long, and then February and March have just gone by in the blink of an eye, or a click of the fingers. So yeah, so here are some favourite things that I've got from the months of January, February and March. The first thing I'm going to start with is the musical Six. This, I think, may well have previously appeared on my favourites, but I went and so I've now seen the musical Six 3 times. The musical Six is about the 6 wives of Henry VIII and what they have in common and what they don't have in common, and how they're only famous because of somebody that they married and how awful he was to them. And it's an amazing sort of like girl power, girl band production. It's on various places all over the world, so I'm sure you may well be able to find it wherever you may be. But I have seen the touring cast of the UK touring cast 3 times now. I saw them for the first time in June last year, and we were supposed to see them in May the year before, but obviously COVID, so I saw them in June last year at the Gulbenkian in Canterbury, and then David got me tickets to see the touring cast again at the Orchard Theatre in Dartford for Christmas. So we went to see them in January, and then my friend Jenny, her mum dropped out of, her mum was supposed to be going, and Jenny's mum couldn't make it, so she asked if I wanted to go, and I went as well. So I saw them twice in January. Both times were amazing. I've seen the same touring cast 3 times now. However, that touring cast has now stopped. They've got a new touring cast. It is just amazing. I can't recommend it enough. It is so much fun. It's hilarious. The singing's amazing. The dancing's amazing. The routine, the costumes are amazing. I learnt loads. I just love it. You might well have seen, I've been going on about it for ages, but yeah, I was lucky enough to see it twice in January, and it was amazing. The second time when I went with Jenny, the tickets, we were so close to the front of the stage I could see their bloody eyeshadow. I loved it. It was just so good. So yeah, Six the musical, not a shocker that that's on there, but I had a lovely time. 2 telly programmes that I very much enjoyed, both Channel 4. The first one, I really enjoyed this concept of a TV programme, and I've actually spoken about these both in my telly talk video, which I'll link down below. But the first one is the Great Cookbook Challenge, which is hosted by Jamie Oliver and follows some budding chefs and cooks as they pitch their cookbook idea to a panel of experts. So like a publishing expert, somebody who's an expert in food styling, and a food critic, and Jamie Oliver is the sort of person on hand and the presenter. And yeah, I just loved seeing all these different ideas for the cookbooks. Now, I didn't actually end up, the one that ended up winning, and the last 3 even, I wasn't mad on those ideas, but I loved hearing about the processes behind cookbooks and what makes them sell, and seeing the photos that were being taken and people's different concepts and stuff. But it was really good. If you're into cooking and you're into cookbooks as much as I am, then definitely check out that. It's all on More For, what is it called, David? All For? No, the like iPlayer, but for Channel 4.
All Four.
All Four. Well, I did get it right the first time. And then the second show was the Junior Bake Off. So the Bake Off is something that runs every year, but the Junior Bake Off is something that we've never watched before, and we watched it this year. Harry Hill hosts it, so it's like, as you can imagine, the same format as the Bake Off, but with younger people in it. There was one girl on there that David and I absolutely loved. Lola. She was just the nicest, cutest, just most sort of emotionally intelligent 9-year-old I've ever seen in my life. She was amazing, and yeah, they're just so talented, and it was so lovely to see them. And they're so sort of like, even if what they've cooked is complete shit, the judges, Ravneet and Liam, are just so like, oh well, I mean, yeah, it doesn't look like a penguin, but that texture, that caramel, that's nearly good, that caramel. Just very, very kind. So loved that so much. Next up is crafting. Now I've got quite a lot of crafting kits for Christmas, and I sort of set myself the challenge of doing one crafting kit a month so that they wouldn't just sit on my shelf or under my bed and never get done. I'm on target. I don't know if I'm going to get the March one finished. So this was January. So this was David's sister bought me this. This is my first crochet I've ever done, and I crocheted a little pot which now goes in here and lives up on my bookshelf there. So I was very impressed with that. Also, I mean, it's hardly the most, this is supposed to be circle, but it's more like a sort of acorn shape. But that took me so long, and it was so hard. But yeah, I think this is quite difficult in terms of crocheting. I think maybe there's some easier stuff to crochet, but that was, I did it. Then February, which was much easier but much more stabby, was this felting project of this little beehive. This just used to be wool. Like in the box, it was just wool, and then you just sort of like shape it and stab it with a special needle, and then like wrap these things around. And I made these little bees. Like, isn't that cute? That also lives on my bookshelf. And then the third one I'm doing, David's mum bought me that for Christmas. My sister got me this for Christmas. This is from Aldi or Lidl, Aldi, and it's a embroidered t-shirt kit, embroider your own t-shirt. So this is how far I've got with it. It's going to eventually look like this, and actually, like, that doesn't look like much work. That's probably about 3 hours work. It's not difficult, but it's long, so I need to get back onto it. I quite enjoy doing it and listening to an audiobook as well, so I think maybe tomorrow night, after I've done Patreon book club, I might have another little go of that. So yeah, I've been very pleased with my crafts and how much I've been enjoying it. Also in January, I went on a weekend away with my cousin Laura. My cousin Laura's husband Tom wanted to get Laura a trip away and asked if I wanted to go along with her, and I said yes, I do. So we went down sort of like the south coast. We visited Dungeness, we went to Rye, we had a lovely meal in Rye, and it was just so nice to sort of just chill out and be with Laura for such a long time. Like, we stayed there for 2 nights, and we spent one whole day basically, when the weather wasn't great, just watching loads and loads of Selling Sunset. We did a puzzle, we had a food box that we got delivered from Dishoom with a vegetarian feast in it, and it was just really nice just to sort of like really catch up over a period of time. And also the bed that I slept in was just the most comfiest bed I've ever slept in. We had a beautiful sea view, lovely fire, just really nice sort of like catching up times. It was lovely, and I often think about that weekend and how wonderful it was. So yeah, had a really nice time there. I also took February off from making videos, which I have been doing for the past few years as a sort of like give myself a rest after Vlogmas, and I never want to take January off because I like making videos in January, because there's a lot of like, oh, these are my favourite things, and these are my favourite books from 2000 and whatever the year was before. But this February was so many ideas flowed, and I had this notebook. This is a notebook that I've got. It's very cute actually. It's got a Goosebumps front cover on it. This is a notebook that I have that is basically all booktube stuff, videos, and also sort of like logging what I'm watching and things like that. So it's a lot of stuff, and I was just, every time I thought of an idea of a video that I might want to make, or just like an idea of a video, I would just jot it down. And that February, I can't even tell you how sort of helpful it was for ideas. So really, although it's been lovely in the past to take February off to have a rest, like this has been amazing, because not only have I had a rest, I've really thought of some really good videos to make, and I've got so many ideas going forward. Like all throughout March, I've had no problems where I'm thinking, oh, what video shall I make? I don't know what to do. And like going into April, and that sort of creativity has just continued flowing. So yeah, I can't tell you how pleased I was for that to happen in February. Something else that I've been loving, and I've mentioned this in another one of my videos, is my library reservations. Using library reservations has been absolutely amazing. So I'm a member of 2 libraries. I live in a county, well, I live in Kent in the southeast of England. So I'm a member of Kent County Council libraries, but I'm also a member of another library, which is a sort of council within the council that I live in. I work near the other county. council, so I'm able to join a library there as well. So that library where I work, the reservations are free, so every time I hear a book, particularly around the time of like watching people's best books of last year and talking about books that people are looking forward to, just nip on the website, pop a reservation on. I can have 30 reservations on at a time and get 30 reservations out from, so I can have basically like 60 books either with me or on their way to me, and it's just been absolutely amazing. Like, it's just been so helpful. And then I've also, as I said, the other library, the Kent County Council, that costs £1 for a reservation. So when I did when the Women's Prize long list came out, I went on to the other library and saw what ones I could get on there, and then I've also put 3 reservations on the one that's nearer to me, and got those out, because like that's £1 for a book rather than buying a book, because I'm on a low spend year this year and I'm trying not to buy all the books, and like previously I would have bought a lot more than I did. Yeah, so I've just been absolutely boshing using the library reservations, and yeah, it's just been amazing, and I'm just so happy I've been doing it. It's just been so, and I'm so enthused by it. I'm so happy. So yeah, one of my sort of resolutions or my goals for this year was to use the library a lot more, and I can already say like I've been using it so much this past, well, these 3 months probably, than I've done in the past sort of 2-3 years. So yeah, amazing. Also enjoying, speaking of daylight, this lovely dappled light that's coming through. Bit more daylight around, isn't there? And we haven't even got to the point where we're getting, like, it's daylight saving this weekend, so clocks go forward tonight, guys. So Sunday morning, when you're watching this, the clocks will have gone forward. Oh, if you're in the UK, so we'll be on British summertime. And it's just been nice to have so much more light, especially like when we're looking at a 3-month period, as I'm talking about my favourite things from the months of January, February and March. Like in January, I would leave for work in the morning, it would be dark. I'd get home and I'd leave work and it would still be dark, and just to now get up and it'd be bright and sunny, and leave and it'd still be sunny, and still have time for a walk when I get home. That's not even without it being like the clock's going forward this weekend. It's been fantastic. Now, something I'm going to do, like we live in a block of flats, we don't have a garden, but we do have a very small piece of land that belongs to the people in these flats, and we have a washing line on there and a little bench, and now the clock's going forward. I think every time when I get home from work or finish working, when I'm working from home, weather permitting, I'm going to sit in that little bit of garden and read a chapter of my book. So I'm looking forward to future sunlight. Oh, there's some rowdy boys outside shouting. Hot cross buns. I'm always happy to have a nice hot cross bun. In fact, I'm about to have some hot cross buns for lunch. Happy to see them back. I wish they were out all year round. Sometimes I feel like the Marks and Spencer's ones are all out all year round, but they just seem to taste a bit better at the beginning of this or this time of year. So yeah, there's something that in this country we eat hot cross buns to celebrate Easter, I think. I think that's why they're out. Yes, it is. That's why they're out. But yeah, I just love them. Things with raisins in, but also like the sort of like, they do like trendier ones, like oh, I saw in the Co-op, I didn't buy them actually, but I saw they had like caramelized onion and masala spiced hot cross buns. That sounds nice, doesn't it? But I like the cheese and Marmite ones. Yeah, I just love hot cross buns. I love them. Next up is a book and a sort of experience with that book. This has been the best book that I've read this year, absolutely, and I think about it all the time. I am going to revisit it all the time, and yeah, it moved me and made me feel things so much. Like I love it, and that is Slug by Holly McNish, which is, guys, it's a poetry collection. So I mean, it's pretty big for a poetry collection, but not only has it got these poems in it, it's also got sort of like backstory to those poems, which sometimes when I'm reading poetry, it's very much like whew, straight over my head. But having these sort of like explanations and like, oh, the next chapter is the next chapter is all about a chapter of poems to do with my nan, and then like explanations about stories and memories that she has of her nan, and then these poems, like it just makes the poems pop even more. It's absolutely amazing. There's a whole chapter in here about periods, which I loved, and that's towards the end. And like the first thing you sort of like when you start reading it, she's like, well, this is the way you can read these books. You can skip them around and do whatever. Like you can only read the poems, you could just read the story, like you can do whatever you want with it. And it just really sort of like opened my eyes to poetry, I guess. I loved it. I can't tell you how much I loved it. And then also me and my cousin Laura went to see her like read some of her poems at Faversham Literary Festival, and it was so amazing to be in like a room for an hour just listening to one like woman just like not sort of like performing in the way that I imagine I would, sort of gobbing off and being like blah 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 blah, just literally up there reading them out, and it was just so, it was amazing. It was such an amazing experience. I loved this. I cannot recommend it enough. I want to read all of Holly McNish's poetry, and yeah, this to me was a very, very special book, and I will forever sort of love it, forever and ever and ever. And I'm going to read those period poems all the time. In fact, I do read those period poems all the time. So yeah, amazing. And there's fingering poems in there as well. So something for everyone. There we go. Then another bookish thing is a podcast that I've been enjoying. I did start listening to this last year, but I've been really like getting into it and looking forward to the episodes when they come out this year, and that's What Page Are You On podcast. It's hosted by two amazing women who are authors also. Bethany Rutter, who's actually, her book arrived today. I pre-ordered it and it arrived today. Welcome to Your Life by Bethany Rutter. And Alice Slater, whose book, the short story collections Outsiders, she curated, and I very much enjoyed it. It's one of my favourite books last year. So yeah, it's a bookish podcast hosted by these two absolute babes, and they're very good friends, and that sort of like, it makes you enjoy the podcast even more, because it's like you're listening in on like a bookish chat. I just love everything about it. Like their author interviews, they just get really like chatty and lovely with the authors. They've done bits where they talked about like bookish TikTok, book talk, I believe it's called, and just like different sort of like bookish trends that are going on. I just really, really, really love it. And if you're looking for a bookish podcast, like I always am, then this is like the best one out there. I really, really love it. But also, because they're so enthused by reading, and they're such sort of like, they love reading so much, whenever I listen to it, I always think about sort of like reading possibilities, and like whenever I sit here and look at my TBR and look at like what the books on my shelves and stuff, I think, oh god, I get so excited. So I've been very much enjoying the feeling of sort of like bookish reading possibilities in general. Oh, I should have mentioned this earlier, sort of like, oh my god, I've actually written on here, sunshine through windows at work and at home. And here we are, sunshine through windows, so I very much enjoyed it. Right, and then two more things. I can't believe this. So, as I said, I'm on a low spend year this year. It's going very, very well so far. We're only at the end of March, but I've sort of, I'll link the video that talks all about it if you want to go and have a look there. So I haven't been buying myself as much as I ordinarily would, but I was in a charity shop the other day, and David and I are sort of picking up little bits. We're getting married at the end of this year, and we want some sort of like coloured glassware and stuff for the table, so we're doing all of that second hand, and then so that there's no sort of like new stuff being created for one day, although a lot of it, well, probably most of it, I'm like, I'm definitely going to be keeping that and using that again. But something that we won't be using for our wedding, but I just literally could not resist, was this £2 linen tablecloth. I don't own any tablecloths, I've got runners. This linen square tablecloth with the most beautiful embroidery, flowery embroidery, all in this sort of circle. Now my mum, for my birthday last year, after much me saying, look, this is what I want for my birthday last year, bought me a candelabra in a circle, and it fits so perfectly in this middle circle. It is gorgeous. It had a little stain on it, which my mum got out when she washed it by hand. But I mean, £2, like how much work must have gone into that? And for me to have it for £2, it almost felt illegal. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. I can't tell you how much I love it. Look at these daisies around this edge as well, with that pink in the middle. Absolutely beautiful. So yeah, the best £2 I think I've ever spent. And then the last thing also sort of links in with this, because I used this for my Mother's Day spread last week, because we did Mother's Day early with my parents because they've gone away. They will be away for Mother's Day. It's Mother's Day tomorrow when you're watching this today. Happy Mother's Day if you're a mother or if you celebrate. And we've got David's family coming round, and that will be on the table for there. So, but something that I've also been doing is sort of like enjoying cooking for people and sort of like feasting and stuff. Like last weekend, the feast that I cooked for my mum was from a book, Jamie Oliver's Together, and it was a sort of collection of picnic food. It made me laugh because in the book he was like, oh yeah, make all this stuff for picnic food and then take it out to a picnic. Like it took me, I would say, almost 7 hours to cook all of that stuff over the period of 3 days, because earlier on in the week I pickled some veg that was part of it. So like, where on earth do people have 7 hours to make stuff and then go on a picnic with it? But regardless of that, I had such a lovely time when I was cooking it all. So like I said, I did the pickled veg earlier, then the night before I got all the innards ready for the quiche, and I'd made the focaccia the night before. Oh yeah, by the way, the focaccia wasn't part of the recipe. I did do that extra, so fair enough. And I'm making a focaccia for tomorrow as well, which I need to go and start proving and kneading and stuff. But yeah, just the sort of like the act of like creating all of this delicious food and then my family coming round to enjoy it. Like, I had such a lovely time doing that, and I imagine we'll have a lovely time doing it for David's parents, who are coming round today when you're watching this, Sunday. David's making pizzas and I'm doing like some sort of like simple antipasti type things. So yeah, I've been very much enjoying sort of like cooking large amounts of food and then popping it all on a table and just saying, just go wild, guys. It's been lovely. So yeah, those are my January to March favourites, things that I've enjoyed in the first quarter of this year. Do let me know what things you've been enjoying. No matter how big or small, I'm interested in hearing them. And I'll see you all again soon for another BookTube video. Goodbye!